A photograph shows a close-up on a honeycomb structure that is covered with bees. Exhibit 10.1, Credit. U.S. Geological Survey /Flickr /attribution to generic CC by 2. Learning outcomes. After reading this chapter, you should be able to answer these questions. Why is production and operations management important in both manufacturing and service firms? What types of production processes do manufacturers and service firms use? How do organizations decide where to put their production facilities? What choices must be made in designing the facility? Why are resource planning tasks, such as inventory management and supplier relations, critical to production? How do operations managers schedule and control production? How can quality management and lean manufacturing techniques help firms improve production and operations management? What roles do technology and automation play in manufacturing and service industry operations management? What key trends are affecting the way companies manage production and operations? Exploring business careers. Deborah Butler, Caterpillar. Deborah Butler is a certified master black belt, but don't expect to see her working with Jet Li anytime soon. In fact, her job has little to do with martial arts. Employed by Caterpillar, the world's leading manufacturer of construction and mining equipment, diesel and natural gas engines, and industrial gas turbines. Butler's master black belt status reflects her expertise in Six Sigma, the process Caterpillar employees use to continually manage, improve, and create processes, products, and services. Sigma refers to the maximum number of defects tolerated in production or service delivery. Six Sigma is the highest level of quality control, demanding no more than 3.4 defects per million parts. That means, if you were to use Six Sigma in your college career, you would miss only one half of a single question in over 4 years of test taking. Caterpillar was the first corporation to take Six Sigma global, deploying it corporate-wide in 2001, not only to its almost 300 facilities, but also eventually to every dealer and more than 850 key suppliers throughout the world. The corporation hails the process as a key element of its overall operations management, attributing increased profits, improved customer service, and supply chain efficiency to Six Sigma. Caterpillar's more than 300 master black belts lead projects that use Six Sigma and train the company's approximately 3,300 black belts in the principles of the process. Butler is currently in charge of updating and implementing our values in action, Caterpillar's worldwide code of conduct. Outlining the 4 core values of integrity, excellence, teamwork, and commitment, the updated code of conduct embodies 2 important aspects of Caterpillar's philosophy on Six Sigma. Sigma is a Greek letter that represents a statistical unit of measurement and defines standard deviation. Caterpillar uses this standard deviation for the number of errors in a product, which equates to 3.4 errors per million. Six Sigma is designed to reduce the number of errors in a process by a step-by-step approach. Caterpillar uses the Six Sigma methodology that utilizes the process of gathering information, analyzing the data, and then making decisions based on the facts. This process ensures that Caterpillar is meeting the requirements of the customer. Caterpillar recognizes that employees are the heart of any operation. Therefore, Caterpillar employees use Six Sigma to improve as people and as workers as much as to improve the products they produce. The core values, reflected in a series of action statements such as, "We put integrity in action when we compete fairly," are the product of a year-long development process involving Butler's global team. As part of the project research, the team interviewed thousands of Caterpillar employees, from officers of the company to production and hourly workers, for the purpose of, as Butler says, bringing to the surface the values that have made Caterpillar a successful enterprise, enhancing behavioral expectations, and accurately expressing Caterpillar's corporate culture. Caterpillar is not content simply to produce our values in action and leave it at that, however, and the second aspect of its Six Sigma philosophy is that employees must bring the process to their lives. Butler has worked to inject the code of conduct's values into employees' day-to-day work. If an employee writes about safety-related changes, for example, she would not just list the changes. Instead, she might write first, According to our values in action, we put commitment in action when we protect the health and safety of others and ourselves. As such, we are implementing the following changes. In this way, the code becomes a living part of corporate culture, a critical component of operations management. Sources: Heather McBroom, Six Sigma, Foundation for Quality at Caterpillar. Peoria Magazine, http://www.peoriamagazines.com, accessed February 20, 2018, John Gillett, Ross Fink, and Nick Bevington. How Caterpillar Uses Six Sigma to Execute Strategy. Strategic Finance Magazine, http://sfmagazine.com, accessed February 20, 2018. Company website: Christopher Six Sigma Black Belt, https://www.caterpillar.com, accessed February 20, 2018. Nearly every type of business organization needs to find the most efficient and effective methods of producing the goods or services it sells to its customers. Technological advances, ongoing competition, and consumer expectations force companies to rethink where, when, and how they will produce products or services. Manufacturers have discovered that it is no longer enough to simply push products through the factory and onto the market. Consumers demand high quality at reasonable prices. They also expect manufacturers to deliver products in a timely manner. Firms that can't meet these expectations often face strong competition from businesses that can. To compete, many manufacturers are streamlining how they make their products. By automating their factories, developing new production processes, focusing on quality control techniques, and improving relationships with suppliers. Service organizations also face challenges. Their customers are demanding better service, shorter waiting periods, and more individualized attention. Like manufacturers, service companies are using new methods to deliver what their customers need and want. Banks, for example, are using technology such as online banking and mobile apps to make their services more accessible to customers. Colleges offer online courses to accommodate the schedules of working students. Tax services file tax returns via the cloud. This chapter examines how manufacturers and service firms manage and control the creation of products and services. We'll discuss production planning, including the choices firms must make concerning the type of production process they will use, the location where production will occur, the design of the facility, and the management of resources needed in production. Next, we'll explain routing and scheduling, two critical tasks for controlling production and operations efficiency. Then, we will look at how firms can improve production and operations by employing quality management and lean manufacturing techniques. Finally, we will review some of the trends affecting production and operations management. Why is production and operations management important in both manufacturing and service firms? Production, the creation of products and services, is an essential function in every firm. Production turns inputs, such as natural resources, raw materials, human resources, and capital into outputs, which are products and services. This process is shown in Exhibit 10.3. Managing this conversion process is the role of operations management. A photograph shows a rural landscape, and on the hill in the distance is a large, high-tech drill. Exhibit 10.2, building an overpass or road bridge, is a complex and multidimensional process involving equipment and materials from dozens of entities. Earth movers, cranes, drainage and sewers, safety components, gravel, cement, and large objects such as steel girders must all be transported to the site according to a tight schedule and specific budget. And then the workers, engineers, and inspectors must be sourced, scheduled, and compensated. This work is done at multiple locations, all at once, in every state in the country. Operations managers are core to making it happen. What are the key inputs in the road construction process? Credit: Mark Dixon /Flickr /attribution 2 generic CC by 2. The goal of customer satisfaction is an important part of effective production and operations. In the past, the manufacturing function in most companies was inwardly focused. Manufacturing had little contact with customers and didn't always understand their needs and desires. In the 1980s, many U.S. industries, such as automotive, steel, and electronics, lost customers to foreign competitors because their production systems could not provide the quality customers demanded. As a result, today most American companies, both large and small, consider a focus on quality to be a central component of effective operations management. Diagram shows the inputs, which are factors of production, as natural resources, human resources, raw materials, and capital. A conversion process takes place, and the outputs are products and services. Exhibit 10.3 Production Process for Products and Services, Attribution. Copyright Rice University, OpenStax, under CC by 4 license. Stronger links between marketing and manufacturing also encourage production managers to be more outwardly focused and to consider decisions in light of their effect on customer satisfaction. Service companies find that making operating decisions with customer satisfaction in mind can be a competitive advantage. Operations managers, the people charged with managing and supervising the conversion process, play a vital role in today's firm. They control about 3/4 of a firm's assets, including inventories, wages, and benefits. They also work closely with other major divisions of the firm, such as marketing, finance, accounting, and human resources, to ensure that the firm produces its goods profitably and satisfies its customers. Marketing personnel help them decide which products to make or which services to offer. Accounting and human resources help them face the challenge of combining people and resources to produce high-quality goods on time and at reasonable cost. They are involved in the development and design of goods and determine what production processes will be most effective. Production and operations management involve 3 main types of decisions, typically made at 3 different stages. Production planning. The first decisions facing operations managers come at the planning stage. At this stage, managers decide where, when, and how production will occur. They determine site locations and obtain the necessary resources. Production control. At this stage, the decision-making process focuses on controlling quality and costs, scheduling, and the actual day-to-day operations of running a factory or service facility. Improving production and operations. The final stage of operations management focuses on developing more efficient methods of producing the firm's goods or services. All 3 decisions are ongoing and may occur simultaneously. In the following sections, we will take a closer look at the decisions and considerations firms face in each stage of production and operations management. Gearing up production planning. An important part of operations management is production planning. Production planning allows the firm to consider the competitive environment and its own strategic goals to find the best production methods. Good production planning has to balance goals that may conflict, such as providing high-quality service while keeping operating costs low or keeping profits high while maintaining adequate inventories of finished products. Sometimes accomplishing all these goals is difficult. A photograph shows customized Vespa scooters parked on a grassy field with tents in the background. Exhibit 10.4 From its storied creation in post-war Italy to its big-screen immortalization in movies such as Roman Holiday and Quadrophenia, the Vespa scooter has a reputation for romance, rebellion, and style. Manufactured by Italy's Piaggio Group, the Vespa's svelte, stainless steel chassis and aeronautic-inspired designs are seen everywhere in Europe and more in the United States. The Piaggio Group presently operates factories in Italy, Vietnam, India, and China. What important production planning decisions does Piaggio need to make as it considers expanding into more overseas markets? Credit, Steve Watkins /Flickr /Attribution 20 Generic, CC BY20. Production planning involves 3 phases. Long-term planning has a time frame of 3 to 5 years. It focuses on which goods to produce, how many to produce, and where they should be produced. Medium-term planning decisions cover about 2 years. They concern the layout of factory or service facilities, where and how to obtain the resources needed for production, and labor issues. Short-term planning, within a 1-year time frame, converts these broader goals into specific production plans and materials management strategies. 4 important decisions must be made in production planning. They involve the type of production process that will be used, site selection, facility layout, and resource planning. Concept check. What are the 3 types of decisions that must be made in production planning? What are the 3 phases of production planning? What types of production processes do manufacturers and service firms use? In production planning, the first decision involves which type of production process, the way a good or service is created, best fits with company goals and customer demand. An important consideration is the type of good or service being produced, because different goods may require different production processes. In general, there are 3 types of production: mass production, mass customization, and customization. In addition to production type, operations managers also classify production processes in 2 ways. 1. How inputs are converted into outputs, and 2. The timing of the process. One for all, mass production. Mass production, manufacturing many identical goods at once, was a product of the Industrial Revolution. Henry Ford's Model T automobile is a good example of early mass production. Each car turned out by Ford's factory was identical, right down to its color. If you wanted a car in any color except black, you were out of luck. Canned goods, over-the-counter drugs, and household appliances are other examples of goods that are mass-produced. The emphasis in mass production is on keeping manufacturing costs low by producing uniform products using repetitive and standardized processes. As products became more complicated to produce, mass production also became more complex. Automobile manufacturers, for example, must now incorporate more sophisticated electronics into their car designs. As a result, the number of assembly stations in most automobile manufacturing plants has increased. Just for you, customizing goods. In mass customization, goods are produced using mass production techniques, but only up to a point. At that point, the product or service is custom-tailored to the needs or desires of individual customers. For example, American Leather, a Dallas-based furniture manufacturer, uses mass customization to produce couches and chairs to customer specifications within 30 days. The basic frames in the furniture are the same, but automated cutting machinery pre-cuts the color and type of leather ordered by each customer. Using mass production techniques, they are then added to each frame. Customization is the opposite of mass production. In customization, the firm produces goods or services one at a time according to the specific needs or wants of individual customers. Unlike mass customization, each product or service produced is unique. For example, a print shop may handle a variety of projects, including newsletters, brochures, stationery, and reports. Each print job varies in quantity, type of printing process, binding, color of ink, and type of paper. A manufacturing firm that produces goods in response to customer orders is called a job shop. An illustration shows a can of cola, a house, and a barber shop pole. Exhibit 10.5 Classification of Production Types, Attribution. Copyright Rice University, OpenStax, under CC BY 4 license. Mass production, mass customization, customization. Highly uniform products or services. Many products made sequentially uniform standardized production to a point. Then unique features added to each product or service produced according to individual customer requirements. Examples: breakfast cereals, soft drinks, and computer keyboards. Examples: Dell computers, tracked homes, and tailor-made golf clubs. Examples: custom homes, legal services, and haircuts. Some types of service businesses also deliver customized services. Doctors, for instance, must consider the illnesses and circumstances of each individual patient before developing a customized treatment plan. Real estate agents may develop a customized service plan for each customer based on the type of house the person is selling or wants to buy. The differences between mass production, mass customization, and customization are summarized in Exhibit 10.5. Converting inputs to outputs. As previously stated, production involves converting inputs, natural resources, raw materials, human resources, capital into outputs, products, or services. In a manufacturing company, the inputs, the production process, and the final outputs are usually obvious. Harley-Davidson, for instance, converts steel, rubber, paint, and other inputs into motorcycles. But the production process in a service company involves a less obvious conversion. For example, a hospital converts the knowledge and skills of its medical personnel, along with equipment and supplies from a variety of sources, into healthcare services for patients. Table 10.1 provides examples of the inputs and outputs used by various other businesses. There are two basic processes for converting inputs into outputs. In process manufacturing, the basic inputs, natural resources, raw materials are broken down into one or more outputs products. For instance, bauxite, the input, is processed to extract aluminum, the output. The assembly process is just the opposite. The basic inputs, like natural resources, raw materials, or human resources, are either combined to create the output or transformed into the output. An airplane, for example, is created by assembling thousands of parts, which are its raw material inputs. Steel manufacturers use heat to transform iron and other materials into steel. In services, customers may play a role in the transformation process. For example, a tax preparation service combines the knowledge of the tax preparer with the client's information about personal finances in order to complete the tax return. Production timing. A second consideration in choosing a production process is timing. A continuous process uses long production runs that may last days, weeks, or months without equipment shutdowns. This is best for high-volume, low-variety products with standardized parts, such as nails, glass, and paper. Some services also use a continuous process. Your local electric company is an example. Per-unit costs are low, and production is easy to schedule. Converting inputs to outputs. Type of organization input-output. Airline pilots, flight attendants, reservation system, ticketing agents, customers, airplanes, maintenance crews, ground facilities, movement of customers and freight. Grocery store merchandise, building, clerks, supervisors, store fixtures, shopping carts, customers' groceries for customers. High school faculty, curriculum, buildings, classrooms, library, auditorium, gymnasium, students, staff, supplies, graduates, public service. Manufacturer machinery, raw materials, plant, workers, managers, finished products for consumers and other firms. Restaurant food, cooking equipment, servers, chefs, dishwashers, host, patrons, furniture, fixtures, meals for patrons. Table 10.1. In an intermittent process, short production runs are used to make batches of different products. Machines are shut down to change them to make different products at different times. This process is best for low-volume, high-variety products, such as those produced by mass customization or customization. Job shops are examples of firms using an intermittent process. Although some service companies use continuous processes, most service firms rely on intermittent processes. For instance, a restaurant preparing gourmet meals, a physician performing surgical procedures, and an advertising agency developing ad campaigns for business clients all customize their services to suit each customer. They use the intermittent process. Note that their production runs may be very short, one grilled salmon or one physical exam at a time. Concept check. Describe the different types of production processes. How are inputs transformed into outputs in a variety of industries? How do organizations decide where to put their production facilities? What choices must be made in designing the facility? A big decision that managers must make early in production and operations planning is where to put the facility, be it a factory or a service office. The facility's location affects operating and shipping costs and, ultimately, the price of the product or service and the company's ability to compete. Mistakes made at this stage can be expensive because moving a factory or service facility once production begins is difficult and costly. Firms must weigh a number of factors to make the right decision. A photograph shows a highway with large signs that signal Spartanburg is on Interstate 26 West and Charlotte Inn on Interstate 77. Exhibit 10.6 Facing stiff competition from rival automobile companies. And sagging demand among German consumers, Germany's BMW, Bavarian Motor Works, opened a factory in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Opened in 1994, the U.S. plant recently produced its 4 millionth vehicle and now employs 9,000 employees in its 6 million square foot plant. What factors determine where auto companies locate their operations? Credit. Daniel Chu /Flickr /attribution no derives 2 generic CC BYND2. Availability of production inputs. As we discussed earlier, organizations need certain resources to produce products and services for sale. Access to these resources, or inputs, is a huge consideration in site selection. Executives must assess the availability of raw materials, parts, equipment, and available manpower for each site under consideration. The cost of shipping raw materials and finished goods can be as much as 25% of a manufacturer's total cost. So locating a factory where these and other costs are as low as possible can make a major contribution to a firm's success. Companies that use heavy or bulky raw materials, for example, may choose to be located close to their suppliers. Mining companies want to be near ore deposits, oil refiners near oil fields, paper mills near forests, and food processors near farms. Bottlers are discovering that rural Western communities in need of an economic boost make rich water sources. In Los Lunas, New Mexico, it made sense for Niagara Purified Drinking Water to produce purified bottled water in a 166,000 square foot building that was vacant. The business helps diversify the town's economy and created 40 new, much-needed jobs. The availability and cost of labor are also critical to both manufacturing and service businesses, and the unionization of local labor is another point to consider in many industries. Payroll costs can vary widely from one location to another due to differences in the cost of living, the number of jobs available, and the size, skills, and productivity of the local workforce. In the case of the water bottling company, a ready pool of relatively inexpensive labor was available due to high unemployment in the areas. Marketing factors. Businesses must evaluate how their facility location will affect their ability to serve their customers. For some firms, it may not be necessary to be located near customers. Instead, the firm will need to assess the difficulty and costs of distributing its goods to customers from its chosen location. Other firms may find that locating near customers can provide marketing advantages. When a factory or service center is close to customers, the firm can often offer better service at a lower cost. Other firms may gain a competitive advantage by locating their facilities so that customers can easily buy their products or services. The location of competitors may also be a consideration, and businesses with more than one facility may need to consider how far to spread their locations in order to maximize market coverage. Manufacturing environment. Another factor to consider is the manufacturing environment in a potential location. Some localities have a strong existing manufacturing base. When a large number of manufacturers in a certain industry are already located in an area, that area is likely to offer greater availability of resources, such as manufacturing workers, better accessibility to suppliers and transportation, and other factors that can increase a plant's operating efficiency. Nestlé is proposing to open a new bottled water plant in the desert city of Phoenix. The plants have provided much-needed employment to replace jobs lost in the recession of 2008. The city of Phoenix faced opposition to the plant because some locals thought that diverting water from tap water to a for-profit entity was not a sound idea. Phoenix officials contend that the source of water is adequate for decades to come too. Local incentives. Incentives offered by countries, states, or cities may also influence site selection. Tax breaks are a common incentive. A locality may reduce the amount of taxes a firm must pay on income, real estate, utilities, or payroll. Local governments may offer financial assistance and/or exemptions from certain regulations to attract or keep production facilities in their area. For example, many U.S. cities are competing to attract a second Amazon headquarters, and, in addition to touting local attractions and a strong workforce, most of them are offering a host of tax incentives. 3. International location considerations. There are often sound financial reasons for considering a foreign location. Labor costs are considerably lower in countries such as Singapore, China, India, and Mexico. Foreign countries may also have fewer regulations governing how factories operate. A foreign location may also move production closer to new markets. Automobile manufacturers such as Toyota, BMW, and Hyundai are among many that build plants in the United States to reduce shipping costs. Designing the facility. After the site location decision has been made, the next focus in production planning is the facility's layout. The goal is to determine the most efficient and effective design for the particular production process. A manufacturer might opt for a U-shaped production line, for example, rather than a long, straight one, to allow products and workers to move more quickly from one area to another. Service organizations must also consider layout, but they are more concerned with how it affects customer behavior. It may be more convenient for a hospital to place its freight elevators in the center of the building, for example, but doing so may block the flow of patients, visitors, and medical personnel between floors and departments. There are three main types of facility layouts: process, product, and fixed position. All three layouts are illustrated in Exhibit 10.7. Cellular manufacturing is another type of facility layout. Process layout: production of kitchen cabinets shows Job X, and Job Y. For Job X, the product or material flow goes as follows: 1. Receiving and raw material storage. 2. Foundry. 3. Rough machine. 4. Shear and punch. 5. Deburr. 6. Fabrication. 7. Assembly. 8. Packaging and shipping. For Job Y, the product or material flow goes as follows: 1. Receiving and raw material storage. 2. Shear and punch. 3. Finish machine. 4. Deburr. 5. Assembly. 6. Painting. 7. Packaging and shipping. The next diagram is product or assembly line layout. Assembly of flat-screen televisions. The process is as follows: assemble chassis, install circuit board, install flat screen, install speakers, final assembly, and inspected by shown as a number. The last diagram is fixed position layout, construction of a stadium. The inputs to building the stadium are as follows: architect, general contractor, mechanical contractor, electrical contractor, plumbing contractor, general labor, materials such as steel, glass, and cement, and equipment such as bulldozers and cranes. Exhibit 10.7 Types of Facility Layout Source. Adapted from Operations Management, 9th edition, by Gaither/Frazier. Process layout: all welders stand here. The process layout arranges workflow around the production process. All workers performing similar tasks are grouped together. Products pass from one workstation to another, but not necessarily to every workstation. For example, all grinding would be done in one area, all assembling in another, and all inspection in yet another. The process layout is best for firms that produce small numbers of a wide variety of products, typically using general-purpose machines that can be changed rapidly to new operations for different product designs. For example, a manufacturer of custom machinery would use a process layout. Product layout: moving down the line. Products that require a continuous or repetitive production process use the product or assembly line layout. When large quantities of a product must be processed on an ongoing basis, the workstations or departments are arranged in a line with products moving along the line. Automobile and appliance manufacturers, as well as food processing plants, usually use a product layout. Service companies may also use a product layout for routine processing operations. Fixed position layout: staying put. Some products cannot be put on an assembly line or moved about in a plant. A fixed position layout lets the product stay in one place while workers and machinery move to it as needed. Products that are impossible to move, ships, airplanes, and construction projects, are typically produced using a fixed position layout. Limited space at the project site often means that parts of the product must be assembled at other sites, transported to the fixed site, and then assembled. The fixed position layout is also common for on-site services such as house cleaning services, pest control, and landscaping. Cellular manufacturing: a start-to-finish focus. Cellular manufacturing combines some aspects of both product and fixed position layouts. Work cells are small, self-contained production units that include several machines and workers arranged in a compact, sequential order. Each work cell performs all or most of the tasks necessary to complete a manufacturing order. There are usually 5 to 10 workers in a cell, and they are trained to be able to do any of the steps in the production process. The goal is to create a team environment wherein team members are involved in production from beginning to end. Concept check. What factors does a firm consider when making a site selection decision? What should be considered when deciding on a production approach? Why are resource planning tasks, such as inventory management and supplier relations, critical to production? As part of the production planning process, Firms must ensure that the resources needed for production, such as raw materials, parts, equipment, and labor, will be available at strategic moments in the production process. This can be a huge challenge. The components used to build just one Boeing airplane, for instance, number in the millions. Cost is also an important factor. In many industries, the cost of materials and supplies used in the production process amounts to as much as half of sales revenues. Resource planning is therefore a big part of any firm's production strategy. Resource planning begins by specifying which raw materials, parts, and components will be required, and when, to produce finished goods. To determine the amount of each item needed, the expected quantity of finished goods must be forecast. A bill of material is then drawn up that lists the items and the number of each required to make the product. Purchasing, or procurement, is the process of buying production inputs from various sources. Make or buy. The firm must decide whether to make its own production materials or buy them from outside sources. This is the make or buy decision. The quantity of items needed is one consideration. If a part is used in only one of many products, buying the part may be more cost-effective than making it. Buying standard items, such as screws, bolts, rivets, and nails, is usually cheaper and easier than producing them internally. Purchasing larger components from another manufacturer can be cost-effective as well. When items are purchased from an outside source instead of being made internally, it is called outsourcing. Harley-Davidson, for example, purchases its tires, brake systems, and other motorcycle components from manufacturers that make them to Harley's specifications. However, if a product has special design features that need to be kept secret to protect a competitive advantage, a firm may decide to produce all parts internally. In deciding whether to make or buy, a firm must also consider whether outside sources can provide the high-quality supplies it needs in a reliable manner. Having to shut down production because vital parts aren't delivered on time can be a costly disaster. Just as bad are inferior parts or materials, which can damage a firm's reputation for producing high-quality goods. Therefore, firms that buy some or all of their production materials from outside sources should make building strong relationships with quality suppliers a priority. Inventory management, not just parts. A firm's inventory is the supply of goods it holds for use in production or for sale to customers. Deciding how much inventory to keep on hand is one of the biggest challenges facing operations managers. On the one hand, with large inventories, the firm can meet most production and customer demands. Buying in large quantities can also allow a company to take advantage of quantity discounts. On the other hand, large inventories can tie up the firm's money, are expensive to store, and can become obsolete. Inventory management involves deciding how much of each type of inventory to keep on hand and the ordering, receiving, storing, and tracking of it. The goal of inventory management is to keep down the costs of ordering and holding inventories while maintaining enough on hand for production and sales. Good inventory management enhances product quality, makes operations more efficient, and increases profits. Poor inventory management can result in dissatisfied customers, financial difficulties, and even bankruptcy. One way to determine the best inventory levels is to look at three costs: holding inventory, frequent reordering, and not keeping enough inventory on hand. Managers must measure all three costs and try to minimize them. To control inventory levels, managers often track the use of certain inventory items. Most companies keep a perpetual inventory, a continuously updated list of inventory levels, orders, sales, and receipts for all major items. Today, companies mostly use computers to track inventory levels, calculate order quantities, and issue purchase orders at the right times. Computerized resource planning. Many manufacturing companies have adopted computerized systems to control the flow of resources and inventory. Materials Requirement Planning, MRP, is one such system. MRP uses a master schedule to ensure that the materials, labor, and equipment needed for production are at the right places in the right amounts at the right times. The schedule is based on forecasts of demand for the company's products. It says exactly what will be manufactured during the next few weeks or months and when the work will take place. Sophisticated computer programs coordinate all the elements of MRP. The computer comes up with materials requirements by comparing production needs to the materials the company already has on hand. Orders are placed, so items will be on hand when they are needed for production. MRP helps ensure a smooth flow of finished products. Manufacturing Resource Planning II, MRPII, was developed in the late 1980s to expand on MRP. It uses a complex computerized system to integrate data from many departments, including finance, marketing, accounting, engineering, and manufacturing. MRPII can generate a production plan for the firm, as well as management reports, forecasts, and financial statements. The system lets managers make more accurate forecasts and assess the impact of production plans on profitability. If one department's plans change, the effects of these changes on other departments are transmitted throughout the company. Whereas MRP and MRPII systems are focused internally, Enterprise Resource Planning, ERP, systems go a step further and incorporate information about the firm's suppliers and customers into the flow of data. ERP unites all of a firm's major departments into a single software program. For instance, production can call up sales information and know immediately how many units must be produced to meet customer orders. By providing information about the availability of resources, including both the human resources and materials needed for production, the system allows for better cost control and eliminates production delays. The system automatically notes any changes, such as the closure of a plant for maintenance and repairs on a certain date, or a supplier's inability to meet a delivery date, so that all functions adjust accordingly. Both large and small organizations use ERP to improve operations. Keeping the goods flowing, supply chain management. In the past, the relationship between purchasers and suppliers was often competitive and antagonistic. Businesses used many suppliers and switched among them frequently. During contract negotiations, each side would try to get better terms at the expense of the other. Communication between purchasers and suppliers was often limited to purchase orders and billing statements. Today, however, many firms are moving toward a new concept in supplier relationships. The emphasis is increasingly on developing a strong supply chain. The supply chain can be thought of as the entire sequence of securing inputs, producing goods, and delivering goods to customers. If any links in this process are weak, chances are customers, the end point of the supply chain, will end up dissatisfied. Effective supply chain strategies reduce costs. For example, integration of the shipper and customer's supply chains allows companies to automate more processes and save time. Technology also improves supply chain efficiency by tracking goods through the various supply chain stages and helping with logistics. With better information about production and inventory, companies can order and receive goods at the optimal point to keep inventory holding costs low. Companies also need contingency plans for supply chain disruptions. Is there an alternative source of supply if a blizzard closes the airport so that cargo planes can't land or a drought causes crop failures in the Midwest? By thinking ahead, companies can avert major losses. The length and distance involved in a supply line is also a consideration. Importing parts from or outsourcing manufacturing to Asia creates a long supply chain for a manufacturer in Europe or the United States. Perhaps there are closer suppliers or manufacturers who can meet a company's needs at a lower overall cost. Companies should also reevaluate outsourcing decisions periodically. Strategies for supply chain management. Ensuring a strong supply chain requires that firms implement supply chain management strategies. Supply chain management focuses on smoothing transitions along the supply chain, with the ultimate goal of satisfying customers with quality products and services. A critical element of effective supply chain management is to develop tight bonds with suppliers. This may mean reducing the number of suppliers used and asking them to offer more services or better prices in return for an ongoing relationship. A photograph shows a local florist's workshop with a freshly prepared bouquet of flowers. Exhibit 10.8, managing an efficient supply chain is critical for businesses, especially when the product being delivered is a bouquet of fresh-cut flowers. To ensure that only the freshest, most colorful floral arrangement arrives for that special someone, online floral delivery acts as a national website that serves customers through reputable local florists that deliver the same day. The site uses a web service that draws in customers through search, combined with coordinated carrier scheduling and a review of local florist quality that allows delivery of flowers fresher than the competition. What strategies help businesses create and maintain an effective supply chain? Credit. Brood witch /flicker attribution 20 generic CC by 2. General Motors plans to pare the number of its suppliers to give larger, longer-term contracts to a strategically selected group to be based in a new supplier park near its Texas-based SUV plant. GM is one of several manufacturing firms reconsidering far-flung suppliers in their supply chain. Global parts networks have long been seen as critical to cutting costs, but more companies are concluding they're a risky bet due to political shifts, protectionist measures, and natural disasters. Instead of being viewed as outsiders in the production process, many suppliers play an important role in supporting the operations of their customers. They are expected to meet high-quality standards, offer suggestions that can help reduce production costs, and even contribute to the design of new products. Expanding around the globe. Sophisticated supply chain strategies keep products on the move. Headquartered in Tokyo, but with offices around the world, shipping company MOL, Mitsui O.S.K. Lines, Limited, is taking integrating with its customers to new levels. It is joining its customers in a series of joint ventures to build and operate dedicated vessels for as long as 25 years. One such joint venture teamed MOL with a Chinese steel mill to build and sail ships bringing Brazilian iron ore and coal across the Pacific Ocean for processing. Sophisticated supply chain systems that control every aspect of production and transportation are the key to making offshore manufacturing work. Supply chain software that monitors operations and continually makes adjustments ensures that all processes are running at peak efficiency. By tightly mapping an entire sequence, from order to final delivery, and by automating it as much as possible, supply chain management can deliver products from across the world while at the same time cutting costs. Companies that can carry a small inventory and get paid faster improve their cash flow and profitability. Acer, a $7 billion Taiwanese computer and electronics maker, brings components from around the world and assembles them into everything from PC notebooks to TVs at factories in Taiwan and mainland China. It then reverses the flow by shipping these products to international buyers. Acer sold 4 million portable systems. Without a solid supply chain infrastructure behind us, we couldn't hope to do it, says Sumit Agnihotri, Acer's American Director of Notebook Product Marketing. The synchronizing of trade is essential. If goods don't get into the stores in time, sales might be lost, or the company might have to carry larger inventories to avoid sellouts, which would cut into its profits. Companies need to continually monitor demand and react quickly by adjusting production. This gets increasingly difficult when the supply chain stretches across thousands of miles and a dozen time zones, says David Bovett, Managing Director of Mercer Management Consulting, a Boston-based firm that advises on business tactics. There are strategies that smart companies are using to bring costs down to earth. Getting the most of lower labor costs overseas requires an emphasis on transportation, and supply chain skills are a required core competency, he says. His advice to global manufacturers: cooperate with shippers and integrate supply chains into one cohesive system. An important aspect of a solid supply chain is the availability of inventory, as the needs of the customer cannot be met without an in-stock supply of products. Inventory can refer to components such as the goods and materials on hand. In international global supply, some things to consider are the availability of labor, geography, and local regulations. There needs to be a well-developed strategy in order to have a successful supply chain. Strategies include knowing your customers and their needs and planning what you want to achieve and how you are going to make it happen. The acknowledged master of supply chain dynamics is Dell, with its global logistics control room lined with big screens that monitor its shipping lanes at all times. Alongside Dell executives are representatives of its logistics suppliers for guidance and quick action if anything goes wrong. Risk is the name of the game when it comes to international trade, and companies need to decide whether to play it safe with extra inventory or scramble if a disaster like a port strike occurs. Either way, they need to have contingency plans and be ready to react, and solid supply chain strategies will ensure they are prepared for any eventuality. Sources: About MOL, http://www.mol, CoJP, accessed February 20, 2018. Supply Chain, http://www.del.com, accessed February 20, 2018. Our Supply Chain, https://www.acergroup.com, accessed February 20, 2018. Mudassir Ahmed, How to Create a Supply Chain Strategic Plan That Will Work for Nearly Any Business, http://mudassirism.com, December 4, 2016. Pamela Hyatt, The 5 Essential Stages in Developing a Successful Supply Chain, Trade Ready, http://www.traderready.ca, February 12, 2016. Crystal Gilliam, 7 Tips for Effective Inventory Management in a Global Supply Chain, TradeGecko, https://www.tradegecko.com, October 19, 2015. Critical Thinking Questions. Why are solid supply chain strategies so important? What problems is a company likely to experience without such strategies in place? E-procurement, electronic data interchange, and blockchain. Effective supply chain management depends on strong communications with suppliers. Technology, particularly the internet, is providing new ways to do this. E-procurement, the process of purchasing supplies and materials online, is booming. Many manufacturing firms use the internet to keep key suppliers informed about their requirements. Intel, for example, has set up a special website for its suppliers and potential suppliers. Would-be suppliers can visit the site to get information about doing business with Intel. Once they are approved, they can access a secure area to make bids on Intel's current and future resource needs. The internet also streamlines purchasing by providing firms with quick access to a huge database of information about the products and services of hundreds of potential suppliers. Many large companies now participate in reverse auctions online, which can slash procurement costs. In a reverse auction, the manufacturer posts its specifications for the materials it requires. Potential suppliers then bid against each other to get the job. However, there are risks with reverse auctions. It can be difficult to establish and build ongoing relationships with specific suppliers using reverse auctions because the job ultimately goes to the lowest bidder. Therefore, reverse auctions may not be an effective procurement process for critical production materials. Other types of corporations can use these auctions as well. The U.S. Army utilizes reverse auctions to leverage technology to fight the reality and perception that it is inefficient in its procurement practices. The General Services Administration found that government agencies had 31 suppliers that were charging between $9.76 and $48.77 for the same Hammer 5 in 2005. The U.S. Army began to partner with FedBid, Inc., the largest commercial marketplace for reverse auctions, for a variety of products, from paper to computers to helicopters. Costs dropped by $388 million, according to independent government cost estimates over the past decade 6. Another communications tool is electronic data interchange, EDI, in which 2 trading partners exchange information electronically. EDI can be conducted via a linked computer system or over the internet. The advantages of exchanging information with suppliers electronically include speed, accuracy, and lowered communication costs. EDI plays a critical role in Ford Motor Company's efforts to produce and distribute vehicles worldwide. With the emergence of blockchain technology, there is the potential to automate these types of processes to cover multiple transactions with a variety of participating organizations. 7. Concept check. What are the approaches to inventory that businesses can consider? How is technology being used in resource planning? How do operations managers schedule and control production? Every company needs to have systems in place to see that production and operations are carried out as planned and to correct errors when they are not. The coordination of materials, equipment, and human resources to achieve production and operating efficiencies is called production control. 2 of its key aspects are routing and scheduling. Routing, where to next. Routing is the first step in production control. It sets out a work flow, the sequence of machines and operations through which a product or service progresses from start to finish. Routing depends on the type of goods being produced and the facility layout. Good routing procedures increase productivity and cut unnecessary costs. One useful tool for routing is value stream mapping, whereby production managers map the flow from suppliers through the factory to customers. Simple icons represent the materials and information needed at various points in the flow. Value stream mapping can help identify where bottlenecks may occur in the production process and is a valuable tool for visualizing how to improve production routing. Awning manufacturer Raider Awning and Upholstery used value stream mapping to automate some of its operations. With the assistance of New Mexico Manufacturing Extension Partnership, MEP, the company evaluated how orders were processed from sales to manufacturing over 2 days. With the implementation of the processes suggested by MEP, productivity improved by 20% per salesperson, production defects decreased by 15%, and installation corrections dropped by 25%. Scheduling, when do we do it? Closely related to routing is scheduling. Scheduling involves specifying and controlling the time required for each step in the production process. The operations manager prepares timetables showing the most efficient sequence of production, and then tries to ensure that the necessary materials and labor are in the right place at the right time. Scheduling is important too. Both manufacturing and service firms. The production manager in a factory schedules material deliveries, work shifts, and production processes. Trucking companies schedule drivers, clerks, truck maintenance, and repairs in accordance with customer transportation needs. Scheduling at a college entails deciding when to offer which courses, in which classrooms, with which instructors. A museum must schedule special exhibits, ship works to be displayed, market its offerings, and conduct educational programs and tour. Scheduling can range from simple to complex. Giving numbers to customers waiting to be served in a bakery and making interview appointments with job applicants are examples of simple scheduling. Organizations that must produce large quantities of products or services or service a diverse customer base face more complex scheduling problems. 3 common scheduling tools used for complex situations are Gantt charts, the critical path method, and PERT. Tracking progress with Gantt charts. Named after their originator, Henry Gantt, Gantt charts are bar graphs plotted on a timeline that show the relationship between scheduled and actual production. In the example shown in Exhibit 10.9, the left side of the chart lists the activities required to complete the job or project. Both the scheduled time and the actual time required for each activity are shown, so the manager can easily judge progress. Gantt charts are most helpful when only a few tasks are involved, when task times are relatively long days or weeks rather than hours, and when job routes are short and simple. One of the biggest shortcomings of Gantt charts is that they are static. They also fail to show how tasks are related. These problems can be solved, however, by using 2 other scheduling techniques, the critical path method and PERT. The big picture, critical path method and PERT. To control large projects, operations managers need to closely monitor resources, costs, quality, and budgets. They also must be able to see the big picture, the interrelationships of the many different tasks necessary to complete the project. Finally, they must be able to revise scheduling and divert resources quickly if any tasks fall behind schedule. The critical path method, CPM, and the program evaluation and review technique, PERT, are related project management tools that were developed in the 1950s to help managers accomplish this. In the critical path method, CPM, the manager identifies all of the activities required to complete the project, the relationships between these activities, and the order in which they need to be completed. Then, the manager develops a diagram that uses arrows to show how the tasks are dependent on each other. The longest path through these linked activities is called the critical path. If the tasks on the critical path are not completed on time, the entire project will fall behind schedule. To better understand how CPM works, look at Exhibit 10.1, which shows a CPM diagram for constructing a house. All of the tasks required to finish the house and an estimated time for each have been identified. The arrows indicate the links between the various steps and their required sequence. As you can see, most of the jobs to be done can't be started until the house's foundation and frame are completed. It will take 5 days to finish the foundation and another 7 days to erect the house frame. The activities linked by brown arrows form the critical path for this project. It tells us that the fastest possible time the house can be built is 38 days, the total time needed for all of the critical path tasks. The non-critical path jobs, those connected with black arrows, can be delayed a bit or done early. Short delays in installing appliances or roofing won't delay construction of the house, because these activities don't lie on the critical path. The chart is set up with rows of activities and months from left to right above the activities. From top to bottom, the activities are scheduling and designing and ordering and delivering materials and machining components and assembling and inspecting and shipping. From left to right, the months show September and October. The chart uses symbols. A star indicates the October 8th is the review date. Scheduling starts September 15th and ends September 21st. Designing starts September 21st and ends the 26th. The completed work bar shows this started a day early and ended a day late. Ordering starts September 22nd and ends October 3rd. The completed work bar shows this started September 27 and finished October 4th. Delivering materials starts September 30th and ends October 11th. Complete work shows that this started the 5th and ended the 8th. Machining components shows up as time not available because of machine maintenance, material shortages, and so on. Exhibit 10.9, a typical Gantt chart, attribution. Copyright Rice University, OpenStax, under CC BY 4 license. Critical path start, 5 days to foundation complete. From here, 7 days until frame is complete. Branches to 3 days, siding is complete. Other branch, 15 days until cabinet walls are complete. From here, 8 days until interior painting is complete. Next, 2 days until carpet installation complete. Last, 1 day until house is ready and clean. From frame complete, 8 days until plumbing is complete, and 5 days until electrical wiring complete. Both plumbing and wiring hook back into critical path at cabinets, with 0 days. From siding complete, 4 days until roofing is complete. From roofing, 6 days until exterior is complete, then 0 days until house is ready. From cabinets and walls, 3 days for appliance installation complete. From here, 0 days until carpet installation complete. Exhibit 10.1, a CPM network for building a house, attribution. Copyright Rice University, OpenStax, under CC BY 4 license. Like CPM, the Program Evaluation and Review Technique, PERT, helps managers identify critical tasks and assess how delays in certain activities will affect operations or production. In both methods, managers use diagrams to see how operations and production will flow. PERT differs from CPM in one important respect. CPM assumes that the amount of time needed to finish a task is known with certainty. Therefore, the CPM diagram shows only one number for the time needed to complete each activity. In contrast, PERT assigns 3 time estimates for each activity: an optimistic time for completion, the most probable time, and a pessimistic time. These estimates allow managers to anticipate delays and potential problems and schedule accordingly. Concept check. What is production control and what are its key aspects? How can value stream mapping improve routing efficiency? Identify and describe 3 commonly used scheduling tools. How can quality management and lean manufacturing techniques help firms improve production and operations management? Competing in today's business world is challenging. To compete effectively, firms must keep production costs down. At the same time, however, it's becoming increasingly complex to produce and deliver the high-quality goods and services customers demand. Methods to help meet these challenges include quality management techniques, lean manufacturing, and technology and automation. Putting quality first. Successful businesses recognize that quality and productivity must go hand in hand. Quality goods and services meet customer expectations by providing reliable performance. Defective products waste materials and time, increasing costs. Worse, poor quality causes customer dissatisfaction, which usually results in lost sales. A consumer measures quality by how well a product serves its purpose. From the manufacturer's point of view, quality is the degree to which the product conforms to a set of predetermined standards. Quality control involves creating quality standards, producing goods that meet them, and measuring finished goods and services against them. It takes more than just inspecting goods at the end of the assembly line to ensure quality control, however. Quality control requires a company-wide dedication to managing and working in a way that builds excellence into every facet of operations. Dr. W. Edwards Deming, an American management consultant, was the first to say that quality control should be a company-wide goal. His ideas were adopted by the Japanese in the 1950s, but largely ignored in the United States until the 1970s. Deming believed that quality control starts with top management, who must foster a company-wide culture dedicated to producing quality. Deming's concept of total quality management, TQM, emphasizes the use of quality principles in all aspects of a company's production and operations. It recognizes that all employees involved with bringing a product or service to customers, marketing, purchasing, accounting, shipping, manufacturing, contribute to its quality. TQM focuses on continuous improvement, a commitment to constantly seek better ways of doing things in order to achieve greater efficiency and improve quality. Company-wide teams work together to prevent problems and systematically improve key processes, instead of troubleshooting problems only as they arise. Continuous improvement continually measures performance using statistical techniques and looks for ways to apply new technologies and innovative production methods. Another quality control method is the Six Sigma quality program. Six Sigma is a company-wide process that focuses on measuring the number of defects that occur and systematically eliminating them in order to get as close to zero defects as possible. In fact, Six Sigma quality aims to have every process produce no more than 3.4 defects per million. Six Sigma focuses on designing products that not only have fewer defects, but that also satisfy customer needs. A key process of Six Sigma is called DMAIC. This stands for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. Employees at all levels define what needs to be done to ensure quality, then measure and analyze production results using statistics to see if standards are met. They are also charged with finding ways to improve and control quality. General Electric was one of the first companies to institute Six Sigma throughout the organization. GE employees are trained in Six Sigma concepts, and many analysts believe this has given GE a competitive manufacturing advantage. Service firms and government entities have applied Six Sigma to their quality initiatives as well. Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. Named for a former Secretary of Commerce, the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award was established by the U.S. Congress in 1987 to recognize U.S. companies that offer goods and services of world-class quality. The award promotes awareness of quality and allows the business community to assess which quality control programs are most effective. Administered by the U.S. Department of Commerce's National Institute of Standards and Technologies, NIST, the award's most important criterion is a firm's effectiveness at meeting customer expectations, as well as demonstrating that it offers quality goods and services. To qualify for the award, a company must also show continuous improvement in internal operations. Company leaders and employees must be active participants in the firm's quality program, and they must respond quickly to data and analysis. Organizations in a wide variety of industries have won the Baldrige Award since it was first presented in 1987. In 2017, for example, the Baldrige Award winners included Bristol, Tennessee Essential Services, an electricity and fiber services utility company in the small business sector, the city of Fort Collins, Colorado in the nonprofit sector, and South Central Foundation in Anchorage, Alaska in the healthcare sector 9. Worldwide Excellence, International Quality Standards. The International Organization for Standardization, ISO, located in Geneva, Switzerland, is an industry organization that has developed standards of quality that are used by businesses around the world. ISO 9000, introduced in the 1980s, is a set of 5 technical standards designed to offer a uniform way of determining whether manufacturing plants and service organizations conform to sound quality procedures. To register, a company must go through an audit of its manufacturing and customer service processes, covering everything from how it designs, produces, and installs its products, to how it inspects, packages, and markets them. Over 500,000 organizations worldwide have met ISO 9000 standards. ISO 14000, launched after ISO 9000, was designed in response to environmental issues such as global warming and water pollution, and promotes clean production processes. To meet ISO 14000 standards, a company must commit to continually improving environmental management and reducing pollution resulting from its production processes. Lean manufacturing trims the fat. Manufacturers are discovering that they can better respond to rapidly changing customer demands while keeping inventory and production costs down by adopting lean manufacturing techniques. Lean manufacturing streamlines production by eliminating steps in the production process that do not add benefits customers want. In other words, non-value-added production processes are cut so that the company can concentrate its production and operations resources on items essential to satisfying customers. Toyota was a pioneer in developing these techniques, but today manufacturers in many industries have adopted the lean manufacturing philosophy. Another Japanese concept, just-in-time (JIT), goes hand in hand with lean manufacturing. JIT is based on the belief that materials should arrive exactly when they are needed for production, rather than being stored on-site. Relying closely on computerized systems such as MRP, MRPII, and ERP, manufacturers determine what parts will be needed and when, and then order them from suppliers so they arrive, just in time. Under the JIT system, inventory and products are pulled through the production process in response to customer demand. JIT requires close teamwork between vendors and purchasing and production personnel, because any delays in deliveries of supplies could bring JIT production to a halt. Unexpected events like the September 11 terrorist attacks or the shutdown of ports due to Hurricane Harvey and the devastation and flooding caused by Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico can cause chaos in the supply chains of manufacturers, resulting in problems for firms relying on JIT. But if employed properly, and in spite of these risks, a JIT system can greatly reduce inventory holding costs and smooth production highs and lows. Concept check. How can managers use techniques to improve efficiency? Define Six Sigma. What was Edward Deming's contribution to operations? Management. What roles do technology and automation play in manufacturing and service industry operations management? Technology is helping many firms improve their operating efficiency and ability to compete. Computer systems in particular are enabling manufacturers to automate factories in ways never before possible. Among the technologies helping to automate manufacturing are computer-aided design and manufacturing systems, robotics, flexible manufacturing systems, and computer-integrated manufacturing. Computer-aided design and manufacturing systems. Computers have transformed the design and manufacturing processes in many industries. In computer-aided design, CAD, computers are used to design and test new products and modify existing ones. Engineers use these systems to draw products and look at them from different angles. They can analyze the products, make changes, and test prototypes before manufacturing a single item. Computer-aided manufacturing, CAM, uses computers to develop and control the production process. These systems analyze the steps required to make the product, then automatically send instructions to the machines that do the work. CAD-CAM systems combine the advantages of CAD and CAM by integrating design, testing, and manufacturing control into one linked computer system. The system helps design the product, control the flow of resources needed to produce the product, and operate the production process. Companies can further improve the design and manufacturing processes through the use of additive manufacturing, commonly referred to as 3D printing. Specialized printers can create products or parts for use in early prototypes, and some industries print certain components on site rather than shipping them. Cardianove Inc., a Montreal-based manufacturer of medical and surgical equipment, used CAD software to develop the world's smallest heart pump. The company says using computer-aided design shaved 2 years off the normal design time for cardiac devices. The company's CAD program ran complex three-dimensional simulations to confirm that the design would function properly inside the human body. Using CAD software, Cardianov tested over 100 virtual prototypes before the top 3 designs were produced for real-life testing. Robotics. Robots are computer-controlled machines that can perform tasks independently. Robotics is the technology involved in designing, constructing, and operating robots. The first robot, or steel collar worker, was used by General Motors in 1961. Robots can be mobile or fixed in one place. Fixed robots have an arm that moves and does what the computer instructs. Some robots are quite simple, with limited movement for a few tasks, such as cutting sheet metal and spot welding. Others are complex, with hands or grippers that can be programmed to perform a series of movements. Some robots are even equipped with sensing devices for sight and touch. Robots usually operate with little or no human intervention. Replacing human effort with robots is most effective for tasks requiring accuracy, speed, or strength. Although manufacturers such as Harley-Davidson are most likely to use robots, some service firms are also finding them useful. Hospitals, for example, may use robots to sort and process blood samples, freeing medical personnel from a tedious, sometimes hazardous, repetitive task. Adaptable factories, flexible and computer-integrated manufacturing systems. A flexible manufacturing system, FMS, automates a factory by blending computers, robots, machine tools, and materials and parts handling machinery into an integrated system. These systems combine automated workstations with computer-controlled transportation devices. Automatic guided vehicles, AGV, move materials between workstations and into and out of the system. Ethics in practice. Can technology save your life? Using robots to perform surgery once seemed like a futuristic fantasy, but not anymore. An estimated 1.5 million robotic procedures have been performed by the Da Vinci surgical system, according to its creator, Intuitive Surgical. So what accounts for the surge in robotic surgeries? Some preliminary studies suggest improved outcomes for patients. Surgeons who use the Da Vinci surgical system find that patients have less blood loss and pain, lower risks of complications, shorter hospital stays, and quicker recovery times than those who have open surgery, or even, in some cases, laparoscopic procedures that are also performed through multiple small incisions. In October 2005, Dr. Francis Sutter, chief of cardiology at the Heart Center at Lankenau Hospital near Philadelphia, did the first Da Vinci double bypass. His patient, a 65-year-old man, had just a single 2-inch incision on the left side of his chest and was walking 30 minutes a day just a week and a half after surgery. Tests show his heart function to be normal again. So what are the downsides? At a price of $1.3 million each, the cost of the robots can be a barrier. Because insurance companies pay a fixed amount for a procedure regardless of how it is performed, the hospital is left to pick up the tab for the more expensive robotic surgeries. Sutter's center held fundraisers to help pay for the Da Vinci surgical system, and some surgeons are reluctant to commit the time necessary to learn robotic techniques. There is also a concern that once a hospital invests in such an expensive system, surgeons may feel pressured to use it and steer patients toward surgery over other treatment options. Other types of technology also improve healthcare. At Aurora St. Luke's Medical Center in Milwaukee, intensive care nurses check a patient coming out of heart bypass surgery from a building several miles away. This is the Aurora EICU, from which a team of doctors and nurses keep constant watch on more than 10 intensive care units in 4 different hospitals spread across eastern Wisconsin. The idea is not to make care more remote, says David Rain, the unit's medical director, but to bring expertise to the patient's bedside faster than we ever could before. Monitors display vital signs and the patient's electronic chart, with details on medications, lab tests and X-ray results, and notes on the patient's condition. Cameras can zoom in so closely that monitoring staff can see the capillaries in a patient's eyes. A survey recently found that patient mortality was 7.2% lower in hospitals that were wired, which has a lot of healthcare researchers excited. Although the survey doesn't prove that technology causes better patient outcomes, it does show there is a strong connection. Of course, robotic surgery raises some ethical issues. Recent developments suggest ethical issues that may arise when implementing technology into healthcare practices. Dr. Bertalan Mesko, who wrote the book The Guide to the Future of Medicine, identified such issues, including the hacking of medical devices, defending our privacy, scanning ourselves at home without medical guidance, how society changes if we can prolong life, and possible bioterrorism due to technological advances. Critical thinking questions. How is technology being used to streamline hospital operations, improve the quality of patient care, and provide better outcomes for patients? What criteria should hospitals use to evaluate whether these expensive technologies are worthwhile investments? Sources: Bertalan Mesko, Ethical Issues of the Future of Medicine. The Top 10, Medical Futurist, http://medicafuturist.com, accessed February 20, 2018. Thomas Macaulay, Could the World's Smallest Surgical Robot Make Keyhole Surgery Mainstream? TechWorld, https://www.techworld.com, December 28, 2017. Greg Adamson, Ethics and Technology, IEEE Standards University, https://www.standardsuniversity.org, March 13, 2017. Naif Al-Radhan, The Many Ethical Implications of Emerging Technologies, Scientific American, https://www.scientificamerican.com, March 13, 2015. Nick Glass and Matthew Knight, Would You Have Surgery at the Hands of a Robot? CNN, http://www.cnn.com, August 5, 2013. Josh Fishman, Can High Tech Save Your Life? U.S. News & World Report, August 1, 2005, p. 4552. Flexible manufacturing systems are expensive, but once in place, a system requires little labor to operate and provides consistent product quality. It can also be adjusted easily and inexpensively. FMS equipment can quickly be reprogrammed to perform a variety of jobs. These systems work well when small batches of a variety of products are required or when each product is made to individual customer specifications. Computer-integrated manufacturing, CIM, combines computerized manufacturing processes, such as robots and flexible manufacturing systems, with other computerized systems that control design, inventory, production, and purchasing. With CIM, when a part is redesigned in the CAD system, the changes are quickly transmitted both to the machines producing the part and to all other departments that need to know about and plan for the change. Technology and automation at your service. Manufacturers are not the only businesses benefiting from technology. Non-manufacturing firms are also using automation to improve customer service and productivity. Banks now offer services to customers through automated teller machines, ATM, via automated telephone systems, and even over the internet. Retail stores of all kinds use point-of-sale, POS, terminals that track inventories, identify items that need to be reordered, and tell which products are selling well. Walmart, the leader in retailing automation, has its own satellite system connecting POS terminals directly to its distribution centers and headquarters. Concept check. Describe total quality management and the role that Six Sigma, ISO 9000, and ISO 14000 play in it. How can lean manufacturing and just-in-time inventory management help a firm improve its production and operations? How are both manufacturing and non-manufacturing firms using technology and automation to improve operations? What key trends are affecting the way companies manage production and operations? What trends will impact U.S. production and operations management both now and in the future? Manufacturing employment has added 1 million manufacturing factory jobs since the end of the Great Recession, up to a level of 12.5 million in December 2017. U.S. exports have quadrupled over the past 25 years, and the integration of technology into manufacturing processes has made U.S. manufacturers more competitive. These statistics portray a U.S. economy that is steaming ahead 10. Yet rapid changes in technology and intense global competition, particularly from Asia, create anxiety about the future. Is technology replacing too many jobs? Or, with qualified workers predicted to be in short supply, is the increased reliance on technology imperative to the United States' ability to compete in a global marketplace? Will the United States lose its edge in the ongoing war for leadership in innovation? And what should it be doing to ensure that today's students are tomorrow's innovators and scientists? Recent surveys show finding qualified workers continues to be a major concern facing U.S. industry today. If the United States is to maintain its competitive edge, more investment, both private and federal, is needed for science and research. And what about the crucial role of technology? These are some of the trends facing companies today that we will examine. U.S. workers no longer compete simply against one another, but also against workers in less developed countries with lower wages and increasing access to modern technology and production techniques. This is particularly true for manufacturers who account for the bulk of U.S. exports and compete directly with most imports. A more integrated global economy with more import competition and more export opportunities offers both new challenges and new opportunities to the United States and its workforce. To maintain its position as the world's leading innovator, it is essential that the United States remain committed to innovation and the concerted development of a more highly educated and skilled workforce. Looming workforce crisis threatens U.S. competitiveness. According to the latest National Association of Manufacturers Skills Gap report, manufacturing executives rank a high-performing workforce as the most important factor in their firm's future success. This finding concurs with a recent study by the U.S. Department of Labor, which concluded that 85% of future jobs in the United States will require advanced training, an associate degree, or a 4-year college degree. Minimum skills will be adequate for only 15% of future jobs. But the National Association of Manufacturers predicts that 3.5 million new jobs will be filled over the next decade, but 2 million jobs will go unfilled due to a skills gap. When asked to identify the most serious problem for their company, survey respondents ranked finding qualified employees above high energy costs and the burdens of taxes, federal regulations, and litigation. Only the cost of health insurance and import competition ranked as more pressing concerns. As demand for better educated and more highly skilled workers begins to grow, troubling trends project a severe shortage of such workers. U.S. employers already struggling to find qualified workers will face an increasing shortage of such workers in coming years. To make matters worse, trends in U.S. secondary education suggest that even those future workers who stay in school to study math and science may not receive globally competitive educations. 11. American innovation leadership at risk. A recently released report shows the United States is in danger of losing its global lead in science and innovation for the first time since World War II. The report was prepared by the Task Force on the Future of American Innovation, a coalition of leaders from industry, science, and higher education. Although the United States is still out front of the world's innovation curve, competing countries are climbing the technology ladder quickly. And the only way the United States can continue to create high-wage, value-added jobs is to climb the innovation ladder faster than the rest of the world. The task force identified dwindling federal investment in science and research as a root cause of the problem. Federal research, as a share of GDP, has declined 40% over the past 40 years. 12. The U.S. share of worldwide high-tech exports has been in a 10-year decline since 2008, after a dramatic rise from $77 billion in 1990 to $221 billion in 2008. The latest data has the U.S. high-tech exports at $153 billion. Similarly, graduate science and engineering enrollment is declining in the United States while on the rise in China, India, and elsewhere. In addition, retirements from science and engineering jobs here at home could lead to a critical shortage of U.S. talent in these fields in the near future. 13. So what needs to be done to reverse this alarming trend? More robust investment is part of the solution because federally funded, peer-reviewed and patented scientific advances are essential to innovation. Such basic research helped bring us lasers, the World Wide Web, magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, and fiber optics. National Association of Manufacturers President Jay Timmons noted that modern manufacturing offers high-paying, long-term careers. It's a high-tech, sleek industry. It's time to close the skills gap and develop the next generation of the manufacturing workforce. 14. Business Process Management, BPM, the next big thing. The 21st century is the age of the scattered corporation. With an assortment of partners and an army of suppliers often spread across thousands of miles, many companies find themselves with global design, supply, and logistics chains stretched to the breaking point. Few firms these days can afford to go it alone with their own raw materials, in-house production processes, and exclusive distribution systems. 15. Business process management is the glue to bind it all together, says Eric Ostwald, research director at AMR Research. It provides a unified system for business. This technology has the power to integrate and optimize a company's sprawling functions by automating much of what it does. The results speak for themselves. BPM has saved U.S. firms $117 billion a year on inventory costs alone. Defense contractor Lockheed Martin recently used a BPM system to resolve differences among the hundreds of businesses that it acquired, unifying them into a whole and saving $50 million per year by making better use of existing resources and data. BPM is the key to the success of such corporate high-flyers as Walmart and Dell, which collect, digest, and utilize all sorts of production, sales, and shipping data to continually hone their operations. So how does BPM actually work? When a Dell system is ordered online, rather than waiting for a person to get the ball rolling, a flurry of electronic traffic flows back and forth between suppliers so that every part arrives within a few hours, and the computer's assembly, as well as software loading and testing, are scheduled. Production runs like a well-oiled clock, so customers get their computers quickly, and Dell can bill them on shipment. A well-thought-through BPM system can even reschedule production runs, reroute deliveries, or shift work to alternate plants. The key, says Byron Kennedy of Dell, is to stay close to customers and the supply chain. 16. The amount of available data business intelligence by enterprise resource planning, ERP, customer relationship management, CRM, and other systems is staggering. Companies are flooded with information, says Gene Baker, chair of the Industry Support Group Business Process Management Initiative, BPMI, and vice president of technology at Sterling Commerce. The challenge is to make sense of it all. How you leverage the value chain is the true competitive advantage of the 21st century. According to Baker, BPMI drives growth through the automation of business processes, particularly the processes that integrate organizations. These provide the best opportunities for growth. Studies have shown companies that have good collaborative processes experience 15% less inventory, 17% stronger order fulfillment, 35% shorter cash-to-cash cycles, 10% less stock outs, 7 to 8% increase in revenues from savings, and overall sales increases. 17. Concept check. Describe the impact of the anticipated worker shortage on U.S. business. How are today's educational trends affecting the future of manufacturing? What is business process management, BPM, and how do businesses use it to improve operations management?